would like to say to this lady here, I believe you gave a very nice presentation. A lot of those items you heard, and you mentioned even about the guy from Canada, the doctor from up there. I did hear his interview and stuff, and he made a very good presentation. And I, for one, am one person who agrees with you. And thank you very much for bringing that up this evening. Okay, first I would like to say that when I substituted in the school district in Fremont, Ohio, I found that the quality of education that the students were receiving was exceptional. And I found that the students were exceptional. Students of the month who came to the Lions Club meetings possessed life skills, knowledge, determination for lifelong success due primarily to their home life, parents, and schools. Unfortunately, for some of the students who are not as fortunate, they must be guided by quality schools and quality teachers. And I hope that with what's coming around and going around with different types of education that wants to be brought into the schools and whatever, that we remember those students are going to need the extra help. The next thing I would like to talk about is in Minnesota, fourth grade students were told to hide equity survey questions from parents. And there was a lady, Kelsey Yasger, and her daughter Haley reacted to an equality survey that included gender identity questions being given to fourth grade students. The young lady said the questions were confusing and it made her very nervous and uncomfortable, and she was not taught that by her parents. When students given a quality survey didn't understand some of the questions, they were told by the teacher in Sartell St. Stephen's School District not to repeat the survey questions to their parents. If you don't understand the question or word, just put in whatever you think it means. The survey asked questions that some students didn't understand. Even after hearing an explanation from their teachers, some still couldn't comprehend the survey questions. And this brings up a lot of items that with this are included in the critical race theory agenda that wants to be presented to the schools. And I hope that whenever you hear a new word or a new phrase of something that somebody wants to bring into the schools, you study it completely. I know when I was in school and I was a youngster in grade school in the late 40s and early 50s, we talked a lot about culture and people, how people were different, how they raised, how they lived and whatever. And I can't understand how we've gotten from this type of education over to the extreme type of education that we have. She explained further that due to the lack of transparency from the school district and from Equity Alliance Minnesota, the third party that administered the survey, parents were not informed of the questions being asked to the students. The young lady's mother said, "I do want to say, though, I believe that this wasn't a single case that her teacher made the decision. We have had information that this came from the administration. Equality Alliance of Minnesota instructed them to make sure the children did not share the information with their parents, and that those should pose a great concern in any parent's eyes." So I hope when something comes in new to our district, you have a full understanding what it means. There may be a term or a phrase that is thrown out, and it may mean one thing to you. It may mean another term to Daniel Webster, and it may mean a different things to me. With the diversity and inclusion coordinator, has the board met with them or any of the committees that they have formed? Because I'm interested, because in January, I saw a blurb in the paper and I called up and I said, "Hey, when's your next meeting going to be?" And they said in October. But that was after the meeting they had. And it seems like the committees have already been formed. People have been brought and put into their place. And when I see the list of people that are there, it seems like we have the same old people that are there. Do we have Bob Smith, who is a farmer in Ballville Township? Is he on one of these committees? Is Joe Smith, has this gentleman been asked to be on it? Has this lady been on it? I think not. And those are the kind of people I think you need. You need, when we talk about diversity, I believe that's what we're talking about here. With the grant money that was given to this organization, I understand that this Board of Education gave a sizable contribution to this committee, and it was at first decided that it was going to be a one-year trial thing. Will this Board of Education continue to fund this project as the years go on if they continue? And how come we haven't seen anything about that in the paper, that the board has been doing this and supplying money? I think we talk about transparency, and to me, transparency is just a phony word. Board of Education meetings, and I mentioned to one of the board members last time, it seems like when I read something on the website that you could only speak at the first board meeting of the month. Is my assumption incorrect that you can speak at any board meeting?
You could speak at any board meeting.
Any board meeting. Okay, thank you.
Sir, you have about 30 seconds.
Okay, with a lot of things changing and what's coming in and with new textbooks coming in and whatever, can the public view curriculum? Can they get copies of curriculum for certain subjects and certain classes to see what they're teaching? Can parents visit the classroom? And there was a number of issues when people were going and their children were on virtual education, and the mom and dad walked into the room and started listening to what the teacher was expounding to these students that should not have been part of the curriculum. I guess I want to know, how are we assured that in a classroom up on the third floor that a teacher isn't saying something that possesses her own agenda? And I know we have supervisors that go around and check on them, but you know, you can't watch everybody 100% of the time. I've lived here now for 11 years, and I want you to know that when I left the Cuyahoga Falls School District, we had a very bad situation where they were closing down one of the 3 middle schools. People were outraged and whatever, and the board members quit. I appreciate the job that you folks do. I appreciate the efforts that you put in on your part. Coming with the next board meetings, I would hope that if you have students inside the school for actual learning, that you keep the board meetings open. If you go to all virtual education, then I think maybe you could just take and run this on your visual thing. But if you have students in schools, I think the board meeting should be open. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I'm a mother of 2 boys that currently attend Fremont City Schools. I am here today because I am nervous of what's to come this upcoming school year. I am not nervous for a virus or any variant. I am nervous for the unwarranted recommendations that I know may come down the pipeline this fall. I know right now, as of last, masks are recommended but optional, but I also know that some Ohio schools are already changing their tone and will be masking this fall. Are we really going to do this again? As a parent, I cannot and I will not put my kids through this again. If all the recommendations worked, we would not be here 18 months later, back at square one. And if you think the Delta variant is rampant right now, just so you know, I've called the health department and I've also called NOMS, and nowhere in the area is testing for it. Nowhere. There is a few labs supposedly in Ohio that test for it, but no one seems to know what the test is being used or how the sample is being taken to have it tested. Last year, protocols were implemented from recommendations by the CDC that contradicted itself in every way, not just within the schools, but within every aspect of life. If this was really about a virus, there would be no censoring of the opposition, like we all know is happening. Google, Facebook, YouTube, and many more are removing or silencing anything that differs from the mainstream narrative. Did you know, as of today, this is truth, SARS-CoV-2, also known as COVID-19, has yet to be isolated. I encourage you to research Patrick King from Alberta, Canada. Just this week, he was able to prove that in court, and no media outlets are covering it. If this was about a virus, you would know more about Kary Mullis. He is a Nobel Prize winner and the creator of the PCR test that's being used. He is on record stating that the PCR test was never intended to detect viruses. If this was about a virus, you would know that the PCR test that I just referred to is under a Class 1 recall with the FDA. That's on the FDA site. You should all be pissed off after hearing that statement. This PCR test was the original test used to start the whole pandemic. If this was about a virus, all news outlets would be reporting on the VAERS.gov data. That's a government website that should be reporting all over. Last I checked, which was July 23rd, the total adverse reactions to the vaccine was up to 518,769 adverse reactions. This is just since December of 2020, and of those adverse reactions, 11,940 resulted in death. 4,110 were anaphylaxis, 3,714 resulted in Bell's palsy, 1,272 miscarriages were recorded, 4,799 heart attacks were recorded. You could go on and on with all the different things. But I wanted you to know at the end, 12,808 people were left permanently disabled from the vaccine, any brand that is being used right now. You would also know that MIT did a study and shows that the VAERS data is only reporting at 1%. Now think about those numbers. VAERS is only reporting at 1%. Let that sink in. So the fact that Fremont City Schools hosting vaccine clinics and promoting this to my children and all the children in the community makes my stomach turn. And not for the fact that we just don't know yet. And how can we put this on our children? If this was about a virus, you would also know about a group of white coats that formed a group called America Frontline Doctors. These doctors stood on Capitol Hill and told us that they have been effectively and successfully treating their COVID patients with hydroxychloroquine. These doctors were immediately censored, and hydroxychloroquine was banned from all use. You would also know that there are many alternative methods to treat COVID. But if there are alternative methods known, then their emergency use authorization falls apart, and then they can't push their vaccine anymore. Why do you think there's a new variant right now? Especially in the middle of summer, when everyone is soaking in as much vitamin D as they can be. In my opinion, none of this is about a virus. And I know I'm going to get looks for this, but I think it's psychological warfare. The lockdowns, the masks, the social distancing, the quarantines, the vaccines. These are all violations of our basic human rights. How far are we going to let the government push us? The next push is for the vaccine passport. And clearly no one has learned anything about HIPAA laws. These are all steps to have our rights slowly eliminated and for medical tyranny to be imposed under the false flag of safety. Once you give in to all these things and you no longer have control of your bodily autonomy, are you truly free anymore? So if you think you are doing all this in the name of science, you're not. It's all a part of being compliant. Listen, I know this is a lot to take in. Just know that these few facts I've stated are just the tip of the iceberg in my research. My eyes are open now, and I can't sit back and watch anymore. I truly encourage you to all do your own research, and I challenge you to try and prove me wrong. Mr. Detweiler has my emails. If anyone would like to contact me, I will cite everything I have. And like I said, most of it is from government websites. The media is just not reporting on it. I hope my speech prompts you to start questioning everything. And by doing so, you take this all into consideration before making decisions which you claim are the best for our children. And that's when I want to end it. And I appreciate your time. I know my opinion is not one that everyone agrees with, but these are all facts on government websites. And I do really hope you look into things, and I would be happy to send you the websites and what I found. And it really is, it's damning information.
Okay,
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board?